1.
Welcome to Slippery Rock Sports Forum. I'm Madeline Williams, and now let me introduce our 3 panelists tonight: Tim Durr, Zach Smith, and Bill Kostkas. If you've seen the show before, you know how it runs. For any new viewers, here's how it works. Our panelists will discuss topics from Slippery Rock, other colleges, and professional sports. There will be a 4-minute timer for each topic. Now let's get things started underway. Okay, since Bill, you have not won a show yet, you will start things off tonight. The first topic for you is women's soccer. The ladies played to a 1-1 tie in the second round of the national tournament before losing in penalty kicks. What can the team take away from the season, and what can the returning players expect for next year?
I think the main thing we could take from the end of their season is that they can play with the best of the best in the PSAC and take them to the wire. As we saw the semifinal game in the PSAC tournament, they took Westchester to overtime, and that was decided in penalty kicks. And again, in the second round of the NCAAs with Cal, that went to overtime again, and as we all know, ended in penalty kicks. In terms of players coming back, they're going to, losing. In terms of losing players, they're going to lose Allison Hinley, who's a senior, and Ashley Pagani, that's a lot of their assists and scoring. But what they get back, a couple key freshmen and sophomores, players like Danny Turner, Shelby Ward, who both scored big goals for them down the stretch when they needed it. So they were young, they were deep. They get Dana O'Neill back in goal, so I think they're looking pretty strong coming into next season.
As you said, Bill, they have 5 seniors. What they're really going to need is for their, as you again said, freshmen, sophomore, juniors to step into their roles and have the same turnout. Again, as you said, that what they've shown this year is that they're able to play with some of the better teams in the PSEC. So with that said, I think they have a lot to build on for next year. It's just a matter of them getting in the off season and getting the camaraderie as a team and just to go forward.
Yeah, you guys pretty much said it all for the most part. I'm going to try to elaborate on a couple of different things. First, let's touch on what you guys said some of. They can play with the PSAC teams. They played the tie against Westchester, tie against Cal in the second round of the national tournaments, and lost in penalty kicks. So that makes me say, well, there's one thing they can work on over the offseason and for next year. You lost 2 games in penalty kicks. I think they lost to Cal. It was 4-2 penalty kicks. I think Westchester was 3-2. So it wasn't like they were blown out in penalty kicks, but still, that's something you can work on. The 5 seniors that are leaving, they're going to have to try to bring in a new freshman class, some people who can contribute. They still have some good juniors, sophomores, as both of you have already said, that can come in there and help out. So with all of that going, they have something they can work with. And one thing I also want to touch on is how close they've played their last 15 games. They have 10 wins and 5 ties. 2 of the ties ended up being losses because they were playoff games. But in the last 15 games, when you have a school record for playing without a loss, they didn't lose any games in regulation. So that's something they can definitely take to next year and really be focused on, keep building off of that. That's something I think they're going to have some extra stress on them next year because now they have expectations. Made it to the second round of a national tournament, so you're going to have some higher expectations. That's something they can definitely work on for next season.
I think going as deep as they did, that just a lot of early experience that could really be used in the future for all those young kids that are going to accept new roles next year. One more thing, if you look at how their Atlantic region in the NCAAs was seeded, they were 2-3-2 against the top 5 teams. It's not spectacular, but it's not horrible either. So they're looking good going into next year.
As you guys said, Tim, about them being able to, get these expectations for themselves, it's going to be really exciting to see how the returning players are going to be able to, fulfill that expectation. It's going to be interesting to see what they're able to do in the coming years, as you said, since they're young. But this was great for them, if you think about it. They were able to, get their young players experience, and that's what any coach wants. And they were able to do it on a national level in a national tournament, and the sky's the limit for them in the coming years. So it'll be exciting.
And one more thing I want to add to it is they finished ranked nationally 22nd in the nation. That was definitely higher than people expected. So I think one thing this year that they proved is that they were better than a lot of people thought at the beginning of the year. So that plays off the expectations for the next season and stuff. So they'll have that. So I think they just look for the future, and they'll be fine.
All right, that's it for our first topic. Now let's recap the scores. Bill, you have 5, Tim, you have 4, and Zach, you have 2. Let's head to professional sports and talk about the NBA. We're 10 games into the season, and we're starting to see which teams are going to be a threat and which ones aren't. Zach, you can start this topic off. The question is, which team do you think has been the most shocking in this first part of the season?
I have 3 teams that I really am surprised by: the Celtics, the Hornets, and the Heat. I mean, how could you not be? How could you not even bring them up in that conversation? But what is most surprising is the New Orleans Hornets, 8-0. I have a little stat for you. The last team to pick up their first loss has made it to the finals in the past 3 years. They've been able to beat San Antonio. They're in the West, for anyone that doesn't know that. They were able to beat San Antonio, and that's San Antonio's only loss. They beat the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat 6-4 right now, as we've talked about earlier. They're 6-4. I don't see anywhere that where the Hornets aren't going to be able to make an impact. I mean, for them to make the finals is going to be rough in the West because we all know Kobe, the Lakers, the Spurs, the Jazz, so many different teams. I'm really surprised by the New Orleans Hornets.
The New Orleans Hornets also the team that I've been most impressed by, and also going to touch on the Heat and the Celtics because they're really the 2 other main focuses right now in the NBA. First off, the Hornets, I've been impressed that they're last unbeaten. There was a lot of trouble with them over the offseason. Chris Paul wanted out is what the talks was, so everyone was thinking he was probably going to be gone. Now you're starting off a good season, 8-0, you're playing well. It's something. This is a chance they have. Play good, and then you get them signed to a contract. You guys make the finals, go deep in the playoffs. You can get them signed to a long-term contract, be there in the future. And then when you have I'll touch on the Heat. When you have these top players on your team and everything, and they've been disappointing the big 3 so far in the season. They got off to 6-4 start. They lost 2 games to the Celtics, lost to the Hornets. That's shocking to me, but it's something that you kind of expected a little bit because there was so much hype about them, and you knew they had to get together. They had to get playing together for a little bit to get things going well. And I think as the season progresses, we'll see them step up a lot more. They'll start playing a lot better, and then really going back to the West with the Hornets is, like you said, the Lakers and these other teams are going to be strong for them. But I think that New Orleans has a great chance to, if they keep playing like they are right now. They have the second best overall scoring defense. I think they're only allowing 89 points per game, which is fantastic in the NBA because usually most teams get 100 points a night is the average score that you see. So only letting 89 a game is pretty solid.
I got to go with the Celtics. Yeah, it's probably the fun pick to pick the Hornets, but they got to go through the Lakers, so I'm not going to get too excited about them. The Celtics have one of the best records. They're 8-2 in the league. And both losses came on the road, and after both losses were also the second games of back-to-back nights playing consecutive games. They lead the league in assists per game, and that's attributed to the guy nobody wanted 2 years ago, Rajon Rondo. This guy's probably one of the best floor generals, at least the most underrated floor generals in the league. They've got KG who could pound it inside. He's, as he said years ago, he's going to war with people. Ray Allen hits threes. That's a perfect combo for Rondo. Just dish it out, hit the J.
Actually, the Celtics isn't a bad, and they're deep also.
And they've beaten the Heat twice.
And they're deep.
Yeah,
they present a matchup problem for most teams in the East. But with the Hornets, I mean, as you said, what the argument is right now is, as of now, who has surprised us. We all know that the Lakers are gonna, they're just gonna have their way in the West. But a stat that I would like to bring up about the Heat, their 6 wins were against teams that were 16-32 so far combined. Their 4 losses, teams that were 22-5. So that just kind of gives you an idea that they can't beat winners, and if you can't beat winners, then you're not a winner.
I think it's going to take a while for them, though. You've got 3 new guys out of 5 that start, and it's going to take a while to build some chemistry.
Yeah, I'll touch off both of your topics real quick. And the one thing is, well, I guess not. Time's running out.
All right, 2 topics have been completed, and here are the scores. Tim, you and Bill, you both have 8, and Zach, you have 6. Tim, you can start off for the next topic, and we'll move to college sports and to the BCS. This has been a topic about almost every show, and it's really starting to heat up now. Oregon and Auburn remain at the number 1 and number 2 spots, while Boise State jumped back to the 3rd above the TCU. Now that we are getting into the final few weeks, what are your predictions for how this will all unfold?
All right. First, I'll give a little background on how I got to my reasoning. Everybody knows if Auburn and Oregon win out, they're in. I think Oregon, after they had that scare against Cal at 15-13 win, played a little sloppy, but that's expected. It's a long year. They weren't going to win by 40 points every single game. So I think they got their scare out of the way now. They're going to go and beat Arizona, win their final game, and I think they're in. Now Auburn, I just got this feeling that Alabama's going to beat them. Alabama, they've been up and down the past few weeks after losing their first game and falling from the #1 spot. I think that now they're just going to come out angry, want to beat Auburn. I think they're going to beat Auburn, and that'll knock Auburn out. And that same week is whenever Boise State will play Nevada, and Nevada's ranked 18th currently. And I think Boise State's really going to come out strong and fierce and beat Nevada big, and that'll really help in moving Boise State up above Auburn and into the #2 spot. So there's my reasoning. Oregon, Boise State in the national championship game, and that's it.
I would love to see it end up like that, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. A couple weeks ago, I said Alabama would probably end up winning the SEC and jump everybody, but that's probably not going to happen now, even if they do beat Auburn in the SEC title game because they lost 2 weeks ago. I think Oregon's in. That's set in stone. They don't have a championship game in the Pac-10, so they just got to take care of Arizona, as Tim elaborated on. Auburn's going to face Alabama in the SEC title game. I think Cam Newton's enough. This guy just goes off on teams. They don't know how to deal with him. The guy could throw for 150 and run for almost 300, score 3 touchdowns, and no one has an answer. But I would love to see Boise in there, even if it means Cam Newton getting knocked off in the SEC title game. But if that happens, it's going to be everybody's worst nightmare. I'm not going to be surprised, but I still think Cam Newton and Auburn takes care of Bama in the title game and ends up beating Oregon in the national title.
Well, for Auburn's sake, let's just hope that they get him his check on time.
Yeah.
They just better make sure that they get they get his check
or
to him
his
on
dad.
time. His dad, yeah. Someone needs to be paid in order for him to do what he needs to do to get them there. But anyway, as far as your Boise State, I would have to disagree. We'd all like to see it, but how many weeks have they been them and TCU been in the top 5 and sat idle at 3, 4, 5? Jump back. Being ranked second is in the nation for them is probably not going to happen. I mean, they've been stuck at 3, 4, 5 basically all year. Them and TCU both, and again, that's due to their conference. So, as you guys were saying, Oregon's definitely a lock. We all agree on that. Oregon's in no matter what. LSU, I could see possibly getting in there. They're ranked 5th. But that depends on the result of the Alabama-Auburn game. So we'll see what happens. Again, like I said, if Newton can get his check, then that'll really decide the BCS for us.
Maybe Mississippi State will pay him, and he'll go play for them, and they'll get in.
Hey, you never know what will happen. Yeah.
But on a serious note, the reasoning behind Boise State is that Auburn will lose, and then Boise State will be able to jump them due to their big win over Nevada. But LSU's a possibility. I think it really comes down to the SEC. It comes down to Alabama-Auburn game, then the SEC championship game, how all of that unfolds, and depending on how everybody plays in those games, if Auburn runs through all these teams, they're definitely in. If LSU makes it in to the championship game, they blow out whoever they face real big, then they could possibly win it. So it just really comes down to I think the SEC. But I'm really hoping, and I feel that Auburn's going to lose to Alabama, and Boise State will get in.
We really can't be surprised. We can't set anything in stone with Boise State because they just jumped TCU, but who knows what TCU can jump right back in, so who knows.
All right, 3 topics down, and we're going to take a quick commercial break before we debate the final 3 topics of the night.